Welcome into another interview with one of the icons and legends of Cheatham County, coming to you from the archives of the Cheatham County Archives in the basement of the Cheatham County Library in Ashland City, Tennessee. And today we have definitely a legend, an icon on many levels, and that is the one and only Corky Albright. Welcome, Corky.
Good morning, Terry.
Well, I love the switch. I get to interview you.
Right.
You usually are the interviewer,
Yeah.
and you interview everybody, but people want to know about Corky. And so,
Yeah, but you got a lot to say.
well,
And
well,
I mean, you're on the high end of the spectrum.
well, I got a lot of news deal going on, but the whole point of this interview is to try to capture what you found when you got to Cheatham County, the impact you've had on Cheatham County, and it's been tremendous in several areas. Definitely from information, the radio station, but also bringing into that is sports, events, political, elections, all that. That you were kind of the hub of that at the radio station, and you've done radio all your life. When did you start in radio?
64.
64. And where was that? What station?
That's a WABD, Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Fort Campbell.
Governor of Kentucky owned a piece of that. And they came in and they brought a guy from out of state, up north, and he didn't really know how to treat those people there in Clarksville and Hopkinsville, and they let him go. So this governor of Kentucky, Governor Breathitt, had somebody, if they knew somebody young that they'd like to get, started. So he came and talked to me, and at that time, I was really high on the horse. I was painting water plugs for the city of Clarksville. They had a contract. I got the contract.
Just went around painted spark plugs.
Yeah, the going rate that time was $1.15 an hour, and they was giving me $3 for plugs. Wow. And then I was working for another man, going and chasing down people that owed him. And I had 3 jobs, and I was refereeing basketball. So he came back again, and I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna try it."
Radio sounded pretty good at that point, I guess.
Well, at that point, you can figure out what I'd been making. In my first year, of course, in radio you got to have some sales,
That's true.
and of course that's what we went in. And after the first year, I'd made $11,600, and I thought I'd gone,
Well, that was good money.
back there. That was good money back there. Then.
115 was going
So-
great. Where did the name Corky come from?
When I was 6 months old, my brother was in high school, and they took a funny paper that I guess is a Nashville, Tennessee. Had a little kid in the funny paper named Corky, and had a little curl, and I had a little curl on my head, and it stuck. I went to Dixon. I said, "I'm gonna drop it. I'm dropping it." So I said, "Okay." So they asked me to come play golf with them one day. And I walked in, and the guy said, "Corky, come on back." Billy Clement. I'd gone to the 4th grade with him in Clarksville. So it dropped it.
What did you go back to Richard Albright, or what did you go by?
Yeah, I went Richard.
So the curl's gone, but the name stuck.
Yeah.
You started at Fort Campbell Radio,
Right.
and where'd you go from there?
From there, I went to WJZM.
Oh, the King of Clarksville.
Yeah, they was the king.
They were.
I mean, I tell you what, they had good people, they had good employees, they had people that was smart and good to you.
Well, it was a well-oiled machine,
Yeah.
right on through the 70s, long
Yeah.
after that part. I mean,
Yeah.
That was at their piece, kind of like MAK was to Nashville
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
JZM ruled the roost in Clarksville. big
Yeah.
time. So what did you do with JZM?
Well, I started in sales. That's where I started out at Fort Campbell in sales.
Mhm.
And like everybody else, I got a little bit short one time.
Everybody knows how to do everything
put-
at the radio station.
And the guy told me, he said, you let me show you something. He said, "You can handle it." He had to be gone Bob Wicks was the manager.
And Art Weeks, his son, later.
Or later, yeah, was good in it. We had it's turntables then.
Oh, yeah.
We had 2 turntables, and we had something about the news in on it. It was about 5 things. Well, before I got it stopped, I had all 5 of them going. and that was my first introduction to being on the air.
On the job training. It was good stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, we was kind of thrown into it at that point to learn on our own.
Yeah.
I think we talked earlier
Yeah.
about Bill Gray.
Yeah.
He gave me first job in radio.
He's a good guy.
I miss him.
I miss him a lot.
He was one of a kind. He was a
Yeah.
certain personality. And that's the other thing about the radio station.
Yeah.
You don't come across people like that, and those personalities,
No.
except in radio.
Yeah.
And I know you've experienced that too. So you was at JZM, and when did you start to branch out? Because I know you started looking at your own stations and doing that.
Yeah, he and a guy, we decided we wanted a station of our own. So Larry Perry, who you remember well,
FCC attorney.
yeah, was a good friend of mine, and so we talked to him, and he knew some people, and so he lined us up with a person in Bartow, Florida. So we moved into that station.
So what kind of station was it? AM, FM?
It was AM, pretty good spot on the dial, but when we got there and I finally found it, it was sitting in the middle of an orange grove. I said, I'm in
Howard and
trouble.
all.
Yeah.
Howard and all was in the.
Yeah, I said, I'm in trouble. So we went about a year there, and I said, we got a meeting. So we had a meeting, and we decided that one of us would go back to Clarksville. Well, my house hadn't sold, and I wanted to leave. I really did, but I gave him his choice. He said, my house has been sold, and yours is still available.
So you can go home.
I said, I went that night, got the biggest truck you could hire.
Before he changed his mind.
Before he changed his mind. So I headed back. I hit Atlanta 4 o'clock in the afternoon with that big truck, and that's how I got back to Clarksville.
So you got back to Clarksville, and then what happened?
I went to Dixon.
You,
Charlie Malone at
JZM.
JZM. He talked to me about coming back, and I got Johnny Albright, my cousin, and Billy Herndon. You knew Billy,
Oh,
didn't
Bill
you?
Herndon was
So
voice
we-
of the Govs and everything else
Yeah.
over the years before he passed.
So we got them a job there, and we came back. Charlie said, what I'd like to do is to put you over the sales, and over them, you ride with one of them people you know one day, and next day y'all, just do what you have to do. Well, for some reason they didn't like that. Billy and Johnny did, and Billy and I are great friends. Charlie and John Bailey owned part of Dixon.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know they were part of
They
it.
did. But they were part owners of it. And they had sat there in Dixon and started to grow. And the guy that owned the majority, he was he's such a good guy. People in town loved him. And so the sales was the end of it. Well, when you go into town like that, you got to get known a little bit. But when nobody's ever worked it in the sales, and we shot the sales up good, and he and the guy that owned it, the majority, we became good friends. And he told me, he said, if I ever get ready to sell it, I'll sell it. I'm gonna give you the first shot. So one day on Saturday we was playing golf, and he came up and said, I need to talk to you just a minute. He said, I'm ready to go. So, as always, if you're the low end of the stick, you got to get a partner. And I got partner that we didn't work it out at all. He'd never been in it, never knew anything about it, and he came in and was going to run it. And I thought, all these years I've spent to build this thing up. So I sold my part to him.
Moved on.
So then I went up the road to White Bluff.
White Bluff. This would have been about the same time our radio station was getting on
Yeah.
Ocean City.
Yeah.
82. It was just a month apart.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
Just
But y'all had a good frequency too. This 790 is strong here, but
we had a 1050, I believe.
1050 still a strong signal.
Yeah.
Great signal.
But also, Larry Perry helped me on that. And he got me the nighttime facility and then got us upped our power on 1050. And so I was there until a guy out of Nashville come and wanted to buy the station. So sold the station there. Didn't know what I was going to do.
So what did you do in between White Bluff and Ashland City?
Between White Bluff and Ashland City, I went back and to work more at
Clarksville?
Fort Campbell.
Oh, WADB.
Yeah, and the guy Ned Breathitt.
Because they still had the AM and then also had that Powerhouse FM.
I was there.
107.9.
Yeah, I was there when we got that, and was the first one to say anything on that 100,000 watt.
That was a monster. It was awesome.
Yeah, it really made us start doing well in Clarksville and Hopkinsville.
Well, the reach of that.
Yeah,
station
the
was
reach
incredible.
of it.
Like more Powerhouse FMs that started coming along.
So
Dominating.
I was there for a good while.
It didn't dawn on me. We were just starting to talk. White Bluff was in that same summer. I don't know.
Yeah.
We were on the air here.
Yeah.
And of course the origins of the radio station here. You had Cheatham Broadcasting, which was local businessmen who knew they needed a radio station, and they kind of got together and funded it and was able to make it happen. Gary Scott.
Yeah.
Was the chair. John Borum, his son Johnny Borum. Donnie Jones was involved, Bob McGowan, it seemed like there was somebody else. I think I listened to Frank Stratton.
Yeah.
Frank Stratton. So they were the money men up front.
Yeah.
And of course, none of them had ever been in the radio business
Yeah.
before, but they saw the need for it, put together that, got the license. And of course, it was a daytimer.
Yeah, daytimer.
250 watts, but 790
Yeah.
on AM strong signal. I mean, it
Yeah.
was a great
Oh,
signal.
it was great.
And but it was pure daytimer. I
Yeah.
mean, it was sunrise, sunset. So even by August, we started cutting back in the morning. We were able to get the pre-sun
Pre-sun,
to
right.
open at 6 o'clock
Yeah.
full power every day,
Yeah.
and then go down at sunset. And of course, just like this time of year, it gets darker. I think in December it goes down 4:30. You're off the air
Yeah.
at 4:30, so it was very limiting.
I talked to Larry when they were going to sell the license to the station, and talked to Larry and asked him could he think he could do anything. So he checked around, and he got an engineer out of Nashville, a good buddy of his. He said, yeah. He said, I can get you on at night, but it has to be at 500 watts. I thought, sports, here comes sports. So then in the daytime, he got us to 1,000 on 790.
I knew you increased power both day and had that nighttime
Yeah.
capability.
Later on, he got us to 2,500. And man, you could hear us,
It's great. It's a clean signal.
in
the
clean
closest-
signal.
I guess still the close signals are
Yeah.
Memphis and Atlanta on 790.
I couldn't figure out. I was at Dixon. I couldn't figure out White Bluff. I couldn't figure out how y'all got 790. I said I'd have left at it.
It's just pure luck of the draw, because I don't know if these guys,
Yeah.
I guess whoever they put together the engineering package,
Yeah.
like you said, looking for the
Yeah.
frequency and what would work and be allowed. But like I said, we were somewhat limited just because it was a daytime.
Yeah.
But we did get at least we were able to sign on at 6 o'clock every morning. And it signed on the air in July 14th, 1982. And I was, like I said, about the first one
Yeah.
to say something. I was the first one to say something on that radio. And the first song we played, which happened to be on the charts at the time, talk about weird coincidence, was Don Williams, Listen to the Radio.
I tell you what,
And that, I couldn't
good
ask for,
choice.
I couldn't ask for a more perfect song.
Yeah.
It was just in what we were playing. I said, this is one we're starting with, because Don Williams connection
Yeah.
plus Listen to the Radio.
Yeah.
And it was WAJN 79.
AJN.
And we got the handle of J79, which to this day, somebody every once in a while will come up and go, J79. And I'm,
Yeah,
it's
still do me. Yeah.
It was a hook. It was a good hook. It worked
Yeah.
out well. But you came along and you truly got it up. The power, nighttime, of course, even before you left, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, you even got the FM license
Yeah.
and sold it with the station when you decided it was time to go. But that gave you such, I mean, when we started on the air, we would send somebody with a cassette deck to call the games, and then on Saturday morning we'd
Play it back. Yeah, we all did.
So the players and everything got to hear it too. So it was kind of like that. But you took it a whole nother level, not only live, but then you started the sports show.
Yeah.
It kind of became in its own character, its own part of legs on its own on Saturday morning. Tell us a little bit about that, because that people talk about that all the time.
I started, we had it in Clarksville, and I said, I wonder if it worked. I met with coaches, and man, they said, yeah, let's go. So we was going to have the coaches on and some players. I think we had like 3 or 4 players on it. They alternated them. And we started at McDonald's. They was just opening. So we started.
Tom Dodge.
Tom Dodge.
Yes.
So we had it at McDonald's, and it just started to boom. And in fact, McDonald's sponsored it, but I went to Tom one day and I said, if I cut yours $100 a month, would you let me sell some more spots and I'll extend the program? So he let me sell some more spots, and it went well. I was in Clarksville not too long ago eating. I heard a voice. It had I forget what restaurant it was. I said, I know that voice. And a minute, he walked around over there and he said, Corky, what are you doing? It was a guy that would have made pro ball here. And I guess it was back in 80 something. And I can't remember his name right now. And when I see those guys out today, they start talking about the sports show.
Well, that meant a lot to them, and it's all the
Yeah.
time. I mean, and it increased their confidence, and it was just a go-to. And of course, parents and grandparents all wanted to
Oh, yeah.
on the air, so it was a good niche all the way around.
Yeah.
And the sports, it's interesting how you truly brought sports to the radio and Cheatham County wide as far as broadcasting and all. And as you look behind me, we were talking about it before we started this. That's the original board that signed on WAJN in 1982. You continued after you bought the station in 91, 92 as a production board.
Right.
But that is the board. But the reason this is here, if you look above that, there's Corky Albright, sports media contributor. And so you are a member of the Cheatham County Sports Hall of Fame.
Oh,
Part
okay.
of this.
You've cleaned that thing up.
I didn't do anything. No, time out, Corky. Made it very clear. I didn't have anything to do with it except sitting in front of it. That's all I'm doing. It looks good as a backdrop for us, especially with talking
They've
about.
cleaned it up. Everyone did. They've cleaned it up. But it looks good.
I mean, if that
Really
board could
does.
talk, it's been through many hours of broadcasting and all for Cheatham County and sports and news and all the other items that were always on the air with us. But yeah, that was the original board. I know you were instrumental about getting that into, and I'm so glad that's on display.
Yeah, I
Part
am
of Cheatham
too.
County history. I really am.
It brings back memories. I later had Bob Wicks, who I'd worked with
Oh, Bob.
before, and Bob was great inside.
What a voice.
Had a great voice.
man, it was
Could
one
do
of
some engineering,
Mhm.
and so when I got Bob, I said, I don't know how I'm gonna pay him, but so we decided that Bob was, when he wasn't on the air, he was there at the station. So I'd go out and call on somebody, especially if we had some package, like something was going on fair or something like that. And I'd talk to him about being on with us. And I said, by the way, let me play you a spot. And they said, okay, where is it? I said, I'll be back in 15 minutes. I'd call Bob, tell him what they'd give me. He'd do the spot. I'd go back, play it for
He
him.
was something else.
But that was
What a talent.
that was the old way of getting something done today.
Well, you talked about, and of course, when I started too, it was two turntables and a cart machine,
Yeah,
commercial.
yeah.
And so take us through that transition, because it went from that into kind of cassettes or on tape to
Yeah.
then, by the time you left, what was going
Yeah,
on?
we was on tape a lot. We had ABC News, and Larry Perry had to work hard. Nashville owned the rights to Cheatham County for Paul Harvey, and Paul Harvey was the thing.
It's one of the best things to get
So
at.
Larry got me Paul Harvey. That was probably one of the highest paying people we had on the air was Paul Harvey.
So
So
good content,
Yeah.
easy to sell. It
So-
was easy to sell. But you have other connections as far as sports. What do you know about Pat Headside?
I know a lot about it. When we were younger, we went to Mount Carmel Church out of Clarksville, and that's where they went. She's my cousin, so we'd go home with them and eat lunch most. Well, Tommy and his daddy helped them. They fixed a thing in the second floor of a hay barn, and the gym was so close to the doors, they had to tie the doors to, or you'd fall right on out. So Pat, she could not wait to get out there and try to play with us. She could barely dribble the ball, and so we had Pat and got to know her, and I never thought she would do what she did, but
Phenomenal.
and it's just a great thing to know what she had done over the years.
And how she represented Cheatham County
Yeah.
always. And
But she paid me back down the road.
how did she do that?
I had a lot of trips to Final Fours and national championship.
Well, we'll take a quick break right here, Corky, and we'll be back in just a bit after this word from Cheatham County Election, Cheatham County Library, Cheatham County Archives.
Welcome to Cheatham County Library in Ashland City, where not only can you check out a book, but you can do so much more.
Tennessee is number one in the country for election integrity. The Heritage Foundation named Tennessee the state where it's easiest to vote and hardest to cheat. Laws passed by the General Assembly, administered by the 95 county election commissions, protect your ballot box.
The Cheatham County Archives houses the county's founding documents. Our oldest document dates to 1854, 2 years before Cheatham County was established. Founded in 2019, the Archives preserves priceless documents and photographs. Visitors are welcomed Monday through Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Welcome back to our interview today with Corky Albright, here on our interviews that are going to be put into the Cheatham County Archives. Corky, we've covered a lot of ground this morning, but I want to take you back to, tell us about, because I think it's a great story, when you came to Cheatham County, I think it was an auction, because the radio station was off the air.
Yeah.
It had hit some hard times. It was off the air, and I guess it was some equipment in the tower site.
Yeah.
And a license, obviously, is what you were buying.
It was off there, and it was equipment they had moved it before they went off down the basement of Dan, the lawyer on the corner of
Dan Cook.
Dan
On that
Cook.
corner.
and it was just sitting there. And they had talked to me several times. At this time, I owned a part of WKDZ and Katie's.
Yes.
Katie's, and they've come a long way. They got 100,000 watt now.
I
And,
had no idea they'd said
Yeah.
that much. Wow.
and but anyway, so finally I told them, no, I wasn't interested. So about an hour and a half before they was going to start the auction, I got a call, and I sat there and thought a minute, and I said, yeah, I'm coming. So I came, and
How many people were there? I mean, was it a public auction? Where did they even have it?
public auction, they had it, I forget what company out of Nashville, but I had known some of those guys. And so we got to the auction, and we had one gentleman that I knew, and I thought, well, if he wants it, then no way I'll get it.
You got
but-
deep pockets, they
Yeah,
can get it if you
oh
want.
yeah. So we went through it and kept going through it and everything.
Now, was this held at the tower site? Where was this auction?
No, it was held in the auction. That's where the things was in the auction. The auction was
So in the basement is where they had
Yeah.
these items, that they were also
So
doing,
that's where
the license would go along with it, the tower site, which
Yeah.
is 9-10 acres, plus the tower.
It was 9.45.
9.45 acres, plus the tower.
So yeah,
And the tower's located, in case
Well-
you're not aware of it, off of 12 going on Chapmansboro Road,
It was-
just past the trail.
right. But the problem was the guy from Nashville was you probably know more about this than I do. He was a foreign guy. He had bought it and brought somebody down here. Do you?
I can't remember the name.
I
of all
can't
that, but
either.
It
So
went away from local
Yeah.
stuff. It didn't do well.
So I was afraid of that, but Larry said, go ahead and do it. He said, so we went ahead and bought the license.
Was there big bidding? Was there, how
Oh,
many people were
yeah,
actually bidding?
yeah, it's had an auctioneer there.
It's just so bizarre about
But-
auction off a radio station, but it
But
worked, I guess.
here's what got me. The preachers,
I was gonna ask about the Alliance. How did
Yeah.
they come into play in all
they,
this?
they came to me. Brother Leon Edwards, I knew him anyway. And they said, we've seen what we're gonna have to do. Said, the preachers can't handle it. Said, buy them out where we won't have to bid on it. So-
They were there to bid.
They
They thought
bid.
they would put it back on the air,
Yeah.
all religious
Yeah.
content or whatever, and so you met them there, you won the bid.
Yeah.
You outbid everyone.
I bought the license. Guess what I paid for the license?
20,000?
Paid 50,000.
Well, that was all the equipment, was that the tower site and all?
Yeah, it's all
What's the-
equipment,
Yeah, that's.
which that's the only thing it worked.
Well, you might have had it. But the tower site and all that's in place.
Didn't go.
Really?
That's what really bothered.
So 50,000, you bought the license and the whatever equipment they
Yeah.
threw over. Wow.
Well, I started dealing with a guy in Nashville. He didn't want anything else to do with it, radio, but he wouldn't sell it to me. And it just kept scaring me.
Did you have to lease it? I mean,
I
you put it
leased
back on
it.
the.
Yeah, I leased it, but he wouldn't give me a permanent lease. It's just month by month.
Oh,
Oh, he could sit out anytime he wanted to.
yeah, that is scary.
So after that, as I mentioned, if I hadn't had Larry Perry, I'd have still been painting water plugs and cars.
He's a good man. He knew his stuff too.
He knew his stuff.
He knew his stuff. He was great.
And he said, Corky, don't you talk to him anymore. Let me handle this for him. So he got me the 9 acres, 45, hundredths of an acre. He got me that, the building down there where the equipment stayed, for $25,000.
Oh, you came out well then.
Oh, I mean, I kissed the ground on that.
Well, yeah, that's a deal.
And so I
Yeah,
had,
the transmitter shack was built up out of the floodway,
Yeah,
just like the tower.
yeah.
And the tower and all.
Yeah.
That's excellent, that's excellent. Yeah, but that started a bond with the ministerial alliance from that.
it did.
Which continued as long as you've been on the
Right.
radio station. Tell us about that, because I always think that's that's
Well-
an interesting local angle.
You know, they'd meet together and everything like that. And if they had something they want on, they'd bring it up and we'd put it on the air. So Jack Mraz was kind of the leader of it. Great guy.
Oh, I thought the world was
And
Jack.
so he came in one day and he said, "What? I know you got a lot of spots in the morning, but what could we do at 9 o'clock?" I said, "Jack, I'll give y'all 9 o'clock." And so he got them together, and they had a different preacher to be on from 9 to 10 every morning.
Monday through Friday, rotate.
Yeah, and they could bring guests or do what they wanted to do. And it turned out good. Of course, we're back in the ages where I could play bluegrass on Saturday and gospel on Sunday, but with the like it was with so many Nashville stations coming in here, we decided we'd do Elvis from on up to 80 for the 5 days. And
And we've talked about it before, to try to take a National City or a Cheatham County station and compete with Nashville on
Yeah.
music would be useless. It's gotta be the local flavor,
Yeah,
the
it's
local
gotta
sports,
be.
the local news, the local events,
Yeah.
the elections,
Yeah.
the county fair, those type things
Yeah.
that only a local station would cover, that would be of interest
Right.
and grab an audience.
it was great there. We had the preachers on, and then the ones that was on started getting sicker, and they kept rotating and everything. Somebody new would come in town. It
It's
was
over 30 years, 30 plus
Yeah.
years, yeah.
Yeah.
And Brother Jack, because we lost Brother Jack while you were on the air, but Brother Jack Valley Views, tell us about that.
Brother Jack. After we started that program, he came in there one day and he asked me. He said, of different things that are going on, not just gospel, but sometimes it would be. He said, "Could we? You think you could look at something and see if you might work something out?" So got to thinking about it, and I just said, Sycamore Valley anyway. Said Valley Views. I went back to Brother Jack. I said, "I'll give you any part of that hour you want to, if I can sell spots in it." Of course, he didn't care about that. And so he started Valley Views, and Brother Jack made a success out of that.
Oh, it was well known and well liked, and like such a variety
Yeah.
when you tuned in, and he was great, so positive and upbeat about
He
everything
was.
happening in the community. He was one of a kind. Did a
He
great job
was.
with that.
He really was.
But we talking about the quaint Sycamore Valley. You changed the call letters to what?
Well, I thought since it'd been off the air,
Mhm.
and so I thought about it, and I tried to think of what I'd do, and I spent a lot of time on that. And WQSV was wonderful, quaint Sycamore Valley. So that's what we put on it.
QS.
But we never got away from J79.
Well, like I said, I still have somebody come and go, "You remember J79
Yeah.
is?" I said, "J79 has been around 40 years, so but I appreciate that and all. But the quaint Sycamore Valley, the callers you had ran into Valley Views.
Yeah.
It all
Yeah.
tied together with
Yeah.
Brother Jack.
All tied together.
But Brother Jack was and of course he had that show. I was on his show several times from the newspaper
Yeah.
standpoint.
Yeah.
As mayor in Pleasantview at the time, right before the end, and I just loved being with him.
Yeah.
Of course, Robert D. Perry. We can't talk about this.
Robert D. Perry.
In every election, I've got to tell you this. This is
I know what you got to
one of
say.
the funniest things you've ever come up with. is you would just drive him crazy because he was on the election commission. And every time you had him on the radio and he'd say anything about election, you'd always come in and go, and make sure everybody votes early and votes often.
Oh, he gets so mad.
Because he thought people would actually literally go try to vote often, I guess. I don't know, but it was just, you can't do that, Corky. He would just get him all tore up. If you know Robert D. Perry, that's such a, that's Robert D. Perry, but we all got such a kick out of
He
it.
loved that station.
Oh, well, he was great. I mean, he was also a great supporter of the station and used it for get out information about the elections. And that's what's so unique about a local station, and what you coupled so well is that it was part of the community.
Yeah.
It was part of the community. It wasn't just there like some businesses just hoping that it could make a buck. It was part of the community.
Yeah.
And like I said, and it brought everything together as a hub, from the news, the sports, the events, the elections, all that stuff. Oh, let's talk about elections. I can't let you out here without talking about elections.
I know you did years before that. The board they had up for election,
Chalkboard.
and we talked this morning. We talked earlier about the night it came a flood, and they brought a school bus in to put us in.
Wires going everywhere.
Wires going
in the flood
everywhere.
water.
Don't step over. So,
And we talked about, again, that's something the community has lost, that
Yeah.
we grew up with. It was just part of,
Yeah.
I guess we took it for granted because
Yeah.
when it's not there, you think, man, at election, when everybody gathered down on the courthouse lawn and kind of received the elections results together, now it's all on the internet and Facebook. And
Yeah.
y'all transitioned through that time
Yeah.
too, not only from the radio where you were able to get results out quicker and before they get posted back down there, but even Facebook. And then now you were also doing them on Facebook, even
Yeah.
after you left the radio station.
Yeah.
And you sold the radio station. Let's put that in here too, because we know. But again, somebody may be looking at this in years to come and go, well, why did Corky get out of the business? But you were offered, and you sold the radio station, and they chose to kind of take the license, so to speak, to Nashville and try to make more money out of Nashville and
Well, you're
turn away
talking
from
about,
the local.
while you're talking about the station there, we got, from the time we took over, Larry Perry tried to get me FM. We're so close to Nashville, all the frequencies. And the day the people come in and wanted to buy us out was the day he finally got me FM. And I was going to order the equipment the next day.
They came in.
So I never got to put the FM on.
It was 103.9, 103.9.
Yeah, that's what it was.
103.9.
Yeah.
Of course, AM 790 continues to this day, but
Yeah.
it's not the J79, not the WQSV.
Well, it's not like
that you package with a
not
local
like
flavor. No.
people that you knew back there then. You're talking about the election over there. Y'all set the stage for that. I mean, that was just like a gimme, the way y'all handled that. It was great, and I have people call me all the time. Why don't you do this? Won't you do that? I say, I believe we're gonna get to it,
Well,
and I try to do it.
Absolutely.
You know?
And let's talk about where the studio is located too, because that had changed over time. When it went on the air in '82, we were literally in the basement of the dime store, and the dime store was still up and running at that time upstairs, and we were downstairs, really off Mulberry Street. As you walked into that hallway, first left, I would say maybe 500 square feet. We had a little production room. And of course, the people were putting in for us told us we didn't need a production room because the daytime or at night, everybody could do spots after you
Yeah.
get off air. And so
Yeah.
we corrected that. But very little space. But then it later took over the old post office after the post office moved
Yeah.
down on Vine Street, where Southern Service is
Yeah.
today. Because Southern Service in that market was out where the gas pumps are, but but it was a showcase. You could be on the air right there on Main Street. And then, of course, it went off the air, and you took it over when you bought it. And you took the studios down to where I always called Pizza Hangout.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It was Pizza Hangout when I was growing up.
After we was in there for a little while, we'd get them called. And what's so-and-so pizza? How much is it
Pizza
today?
Hangout. But that was the memory I have about that building. Of course, now most people remember it as a radio station. Of course,
Yeah.
the new owners came in. They didn't need a local studio. They weren't going to do anything local. So they I don't know if they sold it or what they did with it, but it's no longer there. But that's part of that radio history too, of those 3 different locations for the studio when it was operating.
Don bought it. Don Bashir's bought the spot that the tower's on
Yes.
and the station for the building.
Wow.
He bought those and still owns it. But I called him one day not too long ago. I said, Don, I said, I know you well enough I can tell you this, but you need to check the tower. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, you're supposed to have 3 towers, the big tower, the middle, and one on the bottom. And I said, you ain't got any lights on that tower. I said, and I know you own the building. Could you do, and the tower side, you might want to do something about it. He said, I already have. He said, I made him sign when I leased it to him, I made him sign a thing.
You have all liability, I hope.
Yeah, to get rid of the liability on it. Because I don't know if you remember or not, but helicopters used to fly at route a lot. And I don't know where they're going or what they're doing. They flew it. But that was one thing. There's a guy here in town that I don't know his name till today. You know, when you get started, everything's kind of tight, real tight. So he came to me one day and he said, you got anything I could do? Kiddingly, I said, if you could put some lights on top of my tower. He said, ain't no problem.
How tall is that, 180 foot? 100?
No, 210.
210, okay.
So I said, he said, that ain't no problem. So we rode down by there. And he said, yeah, he said, I can do that. So I went back to the station, called the insurance, told me just for that length of time, maybe 10 days or something. And I went back down there after he started climbing. He was about halfway up, had on nothing. He had no safety things at all. I said, oh, man, if he falls,
Get ugly quick. Well, that's
the next time I saw him, we was ready for it, and he was, yeah, I can get on it this afternoon. I said, no, we better wait. He was drunk then. And I thought, I don't want you on that tower.
I think that'd probably be a good way to do with that.
I had so many funny things.
Well, it's just, and that was part of the small town radio that people like us get, that we're in the business, that other people go, I don't get it. But when you're around all those people and all those characters, and boy, you talk about characters.
They were.
Oh, my lands, the characters that we came across, and I'm sure you came across a lot more than I did.
Really, when I bought the license, what I had planned was to come in and try to build it up and sell it. So it took me so long to build it up and sell it. I looked, I said, well, I got 2 sons that live in Dixon. My daughter owns a catering business in Clarksville. I got 2 4-lane, internet coming through the county. I said, then we got a 4-lane here to Nashville. I said, I might well just stay because I was getting too old to do anything else.
What was your impressions when you came to Ashland City and bought the license?
Well, first, I knew this anyway, but I had to really kind of learn it all over. I knew if I was part of the community, I had to live here. I've seen so many people buy small radio stations and leave it up not to be involved in everything.
Doesn't work in a small area.
Doesn't work. Doesn't work.
What was the biggest surprise? What did you expect that didn't happen in Cheatham County? Was something you were saying, we've got to do this, and then that didn't materialize or it didn't happen?
Biggest surprise I had. I talked to everybody around, people who had your job and other jobs, and people surrounding the county and everything. They told me, this is one of the things, they said, Ashland City and Cheatham County is fixing to blow wide open. I had 34 years and I got to the end of it. It was just starting.
It started at 10 to 34.
I said, but man, I'll never ask y'all anything yet.
Well, they were just, kind of like Panasonic, slightly ahead of their time with that prediction, I guess. Because I think we're starting to see it now, but no, it hadn't happened. What has been the biggest change? When you started in the early 90s with the radio station and to this day, what has been the biggest change you've seen in the county?
I think probably schools is one of the biggest things I think that's happening. Um, I and I'm not throwing any stones or anything. Take it overall, I think our political things here are better than there was when I came. And I watched somebody call me today and say, I was mayor when you came.
Well, I mean, but there was that certain, and it was kind of set up to be that way, animosity and banging of heads between
Yeah.
like the school board and the county commission, because they'd ask for funding, the county commission
Yeah.
say no, they get your feelings hurt, and you come back and back and
Yeah.
forth and do that. And I think we talked about it earlier this morning, since our current school director, Dr. Kathy Beck, has been here, I've seen the best relationship between the school board, the director, and the
Yeah.
commission, and of course, the mayor's office. And Dr. Beck and I started on the same day, July 1st, 2017.
Is that
So
right?
we kind of started together, and we've had this open communication and easily pick up the phone, anything comes open. And that hadn't always been the case, like you said. 20,
Yeah.
30 years ago, it was
Yeah.
it was just what I call the budget dance.
Yeah.
It was every year they'd ask for
Yeah.
$1 million, be told no, and they cut us $1 million, and you can't be cut something you didn't have, and it just went around and around. And next budget season, here we go again, and all that's kind of gone away. And the commission has funded what needs to happen
Yeah.
in education, and so it's a little give and take, but everybody gets something, kind of moves on, and,
Yeah.
and everybody moves forward with that. So I agree with you.
I felt like then I had to be real careful. I mean,
Well, balancing act. You're in
Yeah.
the middle trying to be balanced and
Right.
equal to everybody.
and then now I feel like I can pick up the phone, talk to any of them.
Absolutely.
So I think that's some of the biggest changes.
And that'll be good for all of us today, and then on down the road too. We'll all
Yeah.
reap the benefits of that, I'm pretty sure.
But it's been an interesting ride.
And one last thing before we leave, because I know we've talked about radio and your career in radio and what all's happened with radio in Cheatham County and all. But once you sold, like I said, they kind of took the license and the focus of those stations to Nashville and off of Cheatham County. But you picked up a void that they created when they did that, and it's called Corky's Corner. Tell us about that.
Well, I wanted something to do. And when I heard they'd moved it to Nashville, I decided we'd try to have a thing called Corky's Corner. After they had left and everything, I knew it wasn't just something to do. I said, I'm gonna start selling some time on it. And we did. We don't do much. Wouldn't cost. I probably couldn't go for a steak dinner on what I get out of it.
Well,
But anyway, it was something for me to do. And then we had the same format just like we had over there. And of course, I was starting to get some good comments till I went. Of course, we was off almost 2 months when I was in the hospital.
so you was able to stream, but also bring back this Corky's Corner. Everybody missed Corky's Corner when you were gone too, by the way.
Yeah.
But Corky's Corner suddenly added a format and a place to still get local information
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
It filled that void when they took all the local
Yeah.
stuff off and moved to Nashville. So this is there for elections, or you got
Yeah.
Veterans Day. I know this morning you was focused on Veterans Day, but also election or anything going on in the community. And I know Chamber still works with Kelly and
Oh,
comes
yeah.
in and spotlights
Yeah, I give
businesses
them-
and those type things, which is great.
The pieces started to fall in place, and I got my wife involved. She would, we would do the news Tuesday afternoon, run it 4 times a day. We started doing the news.
Well, you're
Oh,
yeah.
you and I did.
Oh, absolutely.
We were.
Absolutely. We worked very
Yeah.
well. Really, us and of course, like I said, we had the Pleasant paper, 24 Exchange, but Tash City Times,
Yeah,
we all kind of,
Yeah.
I mean, we were in somewhat competition, especially the two papers.
Yeah.
But we all still kind of worked,
Yeah.
and the bond to this day with Tim Atkins is there because of
yeah, you're right.
with his involvement. Of course, now he's spokesperson and PR person for the school system,
Yeah,
and does a great job with that. But as the industry's changed with the newspaper and the radio and all this is changed here, so I'm so glad we're able to capture
Yeah.
this so that people understand like
Yeah.
it was in the good old days.
I did know coming in that I would play second fiddle to the paper. I knew that, and that used to be the going thing. But
Well, it was-
some large cities now, I think it's starting to dwindled a little bit.
A little bit, and I mean, the other interesting dynamic here is when we bought the radio station, and Joe Roberts was one of the first on-air
Oh,
personalities
yeah.
we had, which he was JZM, had background, of course, he was born and raised in Cheatham County, but his whole thing was, he liked poking the Ashley Times, because he would say, when you hear it, it's news. When you read it, it's history. Ashley City Times comes out today.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. He was great at all those one-liners, and people got the inside jokes and stuff. But so good to have you with us, Corky.
Yeah.
As always. And,
We'll
and
quit now.
We may figure out enough stories to come back and do it again. Thanks.
All right, thanks
All
a
right.
lot.
You take care, Corky.
All right.
And that's going to wrap up this week's edition. Interviews for the archives here at Cheatham County Archives. Thank you so much. If you know of a person you'd like to see interviewed, please let the mayor's office know, or the archivist here, Walter Pitt, and we'll do our best to get them on for an interview in a future day. All right, take care, and we'll talk to you soon.